Let's now talk about color grading. In CapCut, you achieve color grading with two tools, which are adjustment and filters. Let's focus on adjustment first. Let's go over, for example, the first clip. You can add an adjustment and change the colors of this clip in two ways. One, by creating an adjustment like this, an adjustment layer which is yellow, or by clicking on the clip and going on adjustment. Let's start by creating an adjustment layer. What's the difference? Well, the difference is that if you adjust right here, the only thing that is going to get affected is this exact video. Instead, the adjustment layer, every clip below the adjustment layer will be affected. Let me give you a quick example. If I reduce the saturation of this picture down to -50, the image becomes black and white. But this image right here, the plant, is still colorful. Instead, if I put the saturation back up, and instead I put down the saturation of the adjustment layer, as you can see, the clip once again becomes black and white, and the plant also becomes black and white as it is below the adjustment layer. And it is the same, let me disable this real quick. It is the same for the things that are written here. Although they were green, they are below the adjustment layers, they will have this black and white effect. Instead, if I go right here, the image becomes colorful again, and the written things become colorful again. And now we get on to the second part. Why is color grading important? Well, color grading is especially important for B-rolls like this one. In this case, Luke Belmar was on a boat with not that good of a lighting, and probably if you're recording some footage as well in your house, you do not have a professional light setup. If you do, props to you, but most people don't, and there is no need for expensive cameras and lights when you have color grading. So here's how I would modify this image. First, I would not modify this image only, as I have to add the same amount of color correction to this image and to all these other images, as they are the same footage from the same boat that they require the same corrections. So to do that, I will create an adjustment layer. Let's start from the basic panel of the adjustment layer, and let me explain you how this works. I will make the player panel bigger so that you can see better the corrections that I'm going to do. Let's start with the temperature. The temperature defines if you want the colors in your image warmer, so you pull it to the yellow, or colder. The hue simply gives more purple or green to the image. This is not a feature that is commonly used. And then there is saturation, which is a really useful feature. First, if you want to make your images black and white, of course, but also to add color, as you can see right here. I don't want to exaggerate too much. I think something like this works for his image. The way I suggest you to learn color grading, apart from a lot of practice, I sometimes don't remember what a precise feature does because I confuse them sometimes. So what I do is I simply put it to the max and I remember what it does. So for example, the brightness is pretty easy. It increases the brightness of your image, as you can see. In this case, there is no really need, maybe a slight bit. Then there is contrast, which improves the contrast on your image. But in this case, I will not use it because this is a dark environment, and in dark environment, this is what happens when you use contrast. It's pretty bad. So even using a bit, it doesn't really work out. Then there is highlight, which doesn't change much the picture or the video. It just changes a bit the lighting, as you can see. I usually link this on default. Then there is shadow, which allows you to remove shadows and make the image brighter, or improve shadows and make the image darker. Then there is illumination, which is slightly different than brightness, because as you can see, brightness works on subjects, meanwhile illumination works on the whole picture, as you can see. Then there are effects. Sharpen is one of the best effects of the whole color correction panel. It sharpens the corners and the lines, and as you can see, if you remove it, all of a sudden it looks like the image is blurred out. So usually I put this even up to 35, 50, something like that. Then there are particles, which as you can see add this kind of noise to the image, which I don't really want. Then there is fade, which basically adds this kind of layer, as you can see, to the image. And then there is vignette. Vignette adds this kind of, as you can see, vignette around. If you pull it to the right, it's a black vignette. If you pull it to the left, it's a white vignette. And this is the basics of this adjustment panel. For now, I will leave it like that. Once you are done with your color corrections, if you want, you can save it as a preset. Therefore, if you're creating videos for your YouTube channel and you always record with the same lighting setup, the preset is going to save you a bunch of time. And then we move on to HSL. HSL allows you to modify every single color individually. For example, if in this short I don't want the red color, I can turn it down, and as you can see, everything that had a shade of red is disappeared. If I do the same with orange, the image is going to become black and white because the main colors, as you can see here, the main colors are orange in the face, red on the lips. Here is a bit of red, here as well. Instead, if I remove the blue, the only thing that is going to get affected is the shirt that was blue. Meanwhile, if I remove the green, nothing really changes. You can also modify the other values for each color, but they're not really that useful. Then we have curves, which looks really scary, I know. I will get more into detail in curves later, as we don't need them right now. And then there are color wheels, which are a pro feature, so I will not explain them, although they are really complicated. And even though they give more freedom than the basic and coarse panel, you can do basically everything with curves and basics. I'll also spend a second talking about LUTs. LUTs are pre-made adjustment layers, basically, that you can import from Google or wherever you want to download them. I don't personally have any. I usually make all the color corrections myself for two reasons. First, most of the LUTs aren't free. Second, I genuinely like to color correct videos. Therefore, I just do it myself. And now let's reduce this once again to the normal height. What I will do here is create a big compound clip for the audio so that it doesn't take too much space in my timeline. And we can work on the video. Now let's modify this a bit further. Usually the best way to color correct is to try and see if it works. For example, if I improve the temperature, do I like how it looks? I'm not sure about it. Therefore, I'll go back to the original. But I don't like this either. I think this is now too cold. So what I will do is I will find a way in the middle around here. And in fact, this is a really good color. I will also add a little bit of vignette, as I really like this kind of black effect here, just like this. You cannot see it on the top, of course, and that's because there is already the black sky. And now I think I'm satisfied with this. I cannot really do much more because contrast kind of ruins everything. I will improve the highlighting a bit so that his arm is more clear, and then I think I'm done with this. Therefore, I will make it the length of the whole video. There we go. Now that I have my adjustment layer, I will go ahead and cut it right here. And then here, remove this part because there is no look here. And then here, where there are two looks, I will copy and paste because I will need two. And then I will also need two right here. And I will also copy this and paste it. And then I will cut it here and here. One more cut here, and then remove this part. So I will now highlight this, 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 and all the adjustments which have the Luke Belmar on the main timeline. There we go. And then highlight all of these, always by holding Ctrl, and then click Alt-G. And I have my compound. I will do the same right here. Hold Ctrl, Alt-G, same here. Here I will lose my transition, I will add it once again. And then here we have already a compound clip, so I will uncompound clip this, and then I will compound everything together. And now it's perfect. Every Luke Belmar has the color correction, as you can see. And now to finish this lesson on the basics, I will talk to you about filters. Filters are basically pre-made adjustment layers from CapCut. And these ones are really good. I will give you a couple that are the best ones. Clear 2 is my favorite one when it comes to making stuff warm. As you can see, there is more saturation and stuff like that. You can use this and adjust the strength as you like, even with keyframe. Then there is a black and white, which is, in my opinion, better than saturation. I will use the black and white on the fat guy because on Luke Belmar, you can't really see the black and white as most of the image is already black. But here, as you can see, there is the black, but there's also these kind of shadows which are different from a normal black and white filter like black and white 3. As you can see, this is normal black and white. Instead, with black and white 1, you can see that the stuff is more highlighted, the black is more enhanced. And I really like this black and white, and I highly suggest you to use this instead of a normal saturation to 0 like this. This doesn't look the best. And I will also give you an amazing filter for cold colors, which is conifer cone. Conifer cone is absolutely amazing. I will use this filter on the fat guy. And look at this. This is without the filter. This is with the filter. As you can see, the blue and cold colors are really, really enhanced. Meanwhile, the other colors aren't really that good. But if you have a picture or a video where you have a lot of blue, green, especially purple, these kind of colors, it is going to be an amazing filter for that. If you have majority of warm colors, I suggest you to use Clear 2, the one I showed earlier. If you want to make something black and white 1 works amazing. These are my top 3 filters that I use for everything. I will wait for you with the gradient and overlay color grading, which is a bit more advanced, but I will guide you, don't worry.